Welcome to Clark County Today. I'm your host, David Medor. Our guest today is Cheryl Bledsoe. Cheryl is the emergency manager for CRESA, which is the Clark Regional Emergency Services Agency.
That's right.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
You were just recently involved in a conference. It was the 140 conference. You want to tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. We brought a global conference here to Vancouver, Washington called the 140 Character Conference.
When you say we, who's we?
The Clark County Public Health Department as well as the Clark Regional Emergency Services Agency. Okay. We received a grant from CDC, the Center for Disease Control, to teach governments and public agencies about how to use social media. During the H1N1 swine flu situation about a year and a half ago, the 4 counties in Southwest Washington spawned up blogs and began to try to communicate with the citizens using social media. But it was during a time where we were also crunched for learning. We were trying to get the vaccines out and distributed to the public. And so one of the after action moments that we learned was we just were not as prepared as we should have been to communicate through social media tools. So one of the after action moments was how do we learn more, how do we teach, and how do we get folks familiar with the concepts of communicating through social media. And so it was identified as an after action moment, and we brought this conference, which is a very unique type of conference. It brought 65 speakers to the Hilton last Thursday, and every presentation was 10 minutes or less, unless you were on a panel. If you were on a panel of 4 speakers or less, you had 20 minutes. And you could not use PowerPoint presentation. You had to communicate how social media is transforming your business. And so we had lots of different speakers, lots of variety and perspective shared throughout the day.
You said how many speakers?
65 speakers in 8 hours.
That is a...
It was awesome.
Yeah, that was awesome. It must have been like a fire hose of information.
It was a precision timing. We had to ensure speakers were on target. Great time clock that played the theme to Exodus every time they came close to their 10-minute marker, but it really caused speakers to have to distill the main points down to what's memorable. You know, the human attention span is 11 minutes, so to have different types of speakers every 10 minutes was really rich and really engaging for the audience.
That's great. So there is actually, you turned the H1N1 experience that we all went through into an advantage. That was a dry run where we really didn't have a real catastrophe in our area, but what you did, you applied that insight and realized the necessity for having, well, you could take advantage of the social media, which is a brand new technology.
Yep.
So this is really leading edge, and this is something that's not happening everywhere in the United States.
No.
We are, you know, how many other places? Where are we in the rank?
Well, CRESA as an agency, as an emergency management agency, is on the bleeding edge of using social media. We've been using it for about 3.5 years. We started with a blog.
Wow.
We have a Facebook fan page, and we actually have 2 Twitter accounts. We have CRESA is our main Twitter account to share emergency information, and then CRESA Talk is our chatter account. It allows us to talk back to the public and share information when they ask us questions. We learned that a lot of folks were signing up for Twitter but wanting to get the emergency alert. So they were signing up for text messaging to get Twitter via text messaging by signing up to follow it with sending a text message to 40404. And we learned they didn't want to necessarily have our chatter as part of that when we were communicating with other citizens, which is why we have the 2 chatter accounts. And so...
Let me back you up a little bit there. Yeah. You rattled through so much.
Sorry.
You have a lot of information there. So you said if people want to, first of all, they want to find out about the social media connection to CRESA, to the emergency management in our area, they can go to Facebook and they can enter CRESA, C-R-E-S-A, and they can find that account, and they can, at that point, sign up so that they can basically log on to or tie into that network, the Twitter. So we got Twitter and we got Facebook.
And a blog. And actually it's all tied together through our main website, which is CRESA911.org.
CRESA911.org.
And if you go to our main website, right on the front page on how to connect, you have a link to our Facebook fan page. You also can see the Facebook widget. So even if you don't have a Facebook account, you can see what we're posting on the Facebook fan page. And people can follow Facebook and receive it via text messaging. If they send it's called a fast follow, where they send a text message to, I believe it's FBook 32665 to follow CRESA, and they can receive the Facebook updates. Or if you're on Twitter, you can follow us at CRESA, C-R-E-S-A, to receive the emergency alert information. Really what CRESA does is we put the information that we would put in a press release on our blog, and then we share that information through Facebook and Twitter. And we find that every audience, the blog, Facebook, or Twitter, have different audiences. So while we may have elected officials and folks that follow us on the Facebook fan page, we have a lot more news media and press that follow us on our Twitter accounts. So it's really just additional arrows in our communication bandwagon. We're not abandoning traditional communication. We still write press releases, and
you still want people to call 911 in an emergency.
Want people to call 911. Our 911 infrastructure actually isn't set up to receive text messaging or social media messaging in emergencies. So it's vital that people share that through 911. But for this event, we have been on the leading edge of social media, and so Public Health asked us to manage the event because they want to enhance social media in the government side of the house too, in terms of the Public Health Department and using it for behavioral change messaging and different types of messaging. So while CRESA has been really forward-facing, many other government agencies are still struggling to figure out where they fit in and how they can use social media to their advantage to connect and engage the general public.
Correct me if I'm wrong. If people want to be able to sign up to get messages from CRESA, they can actually open a Twitter account. And in the process, it's a fairly simple thing. You just simply pick a name, and you have to go through a verification from your cell phone that says, send a text message to 40404, which is the Twitter, and it will then, that will log you into them. And so that if you end up sending something, and we're signed up to be able to follow that, it will actually send that text and it'll alert your cell phone that says, hey, there's an important message here from CRESA,
Absolutely.
Right?
Yep, that's exactly how it happens.
Oh, good. I was just guessing it on that.
Nope, that's perfect.
That is, so both Facebook and Twitter. Is there any other social media that you tied into?
Well, on our blog, we do have the ability for people to sign up via email subscription. So if they simply want to receive what we're putting on the blog through their email, they just go to the blog and put their email address in, and it sends it to them via email.
Okay, so they can get it that way as well.
Yeah.
So the blog, again, that's at CRESA911.org, right? Okay. Yep. If people want to be able to communicate back, let's say you have a crisis situation happening, and someone in that crisis wants to be able to send a tweet message of information that would be helpful to CRESA.
Sure.
Is this a two-way link?
It is a two-way link. We communicate with folks every single day through either they can leave a comment on the Facebook page, or they can include using the sign, @CRESA, and we will see that very immediately, and we're able to respond to folks. During emergency and during crisis situations, there may be some time lag between when we're able to get back to that messaging. It's not instantaneous because we have to structure in such a way that we can respond to the needs of the emergency. And while we have public information officers who are paying attention to that, sometimes we will get the messages, but they're not always, if it's a life safety thing, we definitely want people to call 911.
Sure. And that's why you have the two accounts. You have one account that's basically just dialogue, kind of conversation, and it's not an emergency. And again, that how do people get to that?
CRESA Talk. So
CRESA Talk.
Talk is the chatter account. CRESA itself is only going to be one-way communication where we share out the information.
Okay.
People can include @CRESA, and then we'll respond to it through the CRESA Talk account.
And if people want to be able to send a important message, somewhat on the level of a 911 message, then that's not CRESA Talk. That is.
You can always just include CRESA, and we will respond to it usually from the CRESA Talk account. So people don't have to follow the CRESA Talk account. They can follow CRESA to get the emergency alerts, and as they talk, we will chatter back with them on the CRESA Talk account.
Okay, so there's not two channels? I thought you said there was two channels.
There are, but it's kind of a fine distinction, because when people sign up to get the text alerts through CRESA, they don't always want our replies to every single person. So if you replied to me and put something @CRESA in the middle of it, and I replied to you from CRESA, that may also go out via text messaging to someone else.
And if someone wants to send an emergency message to CRESA that way, first of all, the best way is via 911.
Always via 911.
But if you're not able to do that, or for some reason you might be able to just simply send a text.
Yeah, just information.
Then again, they send it to CRESA
They
Talk.
can put it at CRESA
So
or
there's not
CRESA Talk.
So okay.
Either
at
one.
CRESA. So either one. They're both the same priority.
They are at CRESA Talk. We put all of our information out on, which also includes preparedness information. So if I'm just sharing, hey, it's sunny outside today, but I want to tell you how to prepare for a hurricane, then that goes out. Our blog also shares preparedness information and response. So CRESA shares primarily response information. CRESA Talk includes the response information, but also has the preparedness components.
Got it. Okay.
So
good.
if you want the whole enchilada, you can follow CRESA Talk.
Okay.
If you just want emergency alerts, follow CRESA.
Great. So this is something that is proactive. You have taken the lead. And you've been very instrumental in making that happen, haven't you, Cheryl? I mean, you had a personal part in this, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Is there a story behind that?
We had a windstorm about almost 4 years ago now, back in 2007, that happened on a Thursday night. And that windstorm started about 4:30 in the afternoon, and by about 6 p.m. had caused over $1 million in damage to Clark County. And at that point, I did not have the ability to update a blog or anything to share information directly with the public. And so because the county was closed that following Friday, I was unable to update the website until the following Monday. And that was a real problem for me as an emergency manager, because the news media was saying, is anything going on? Are people responding to the emergency? And I knew right then, about that same time, some of the reports were coming out about the Virginia Tech shooting that had happened, and how people were using their cell phones to share information and victim lists and all sorts of stuff very immediately and early on in the emergency. So we began looking at how do we incorporate dynamic ways of communicating with the public. And we started our blog. We began investigating in January of 2008, and by June had our blog off the ground. And so we've been using the social media for preparedness messaging. We played a really exciting game last September called 30 Days, 30 Ways, where each day we asked the public to complete a preparedness task, like checking the batteries in their smoke alarm, or having their out-of-area contact call in for points. And by the end of 30 days, we had 28 states in the United States had participated in the game, and 5 countries. And that was really exciting for us to see that over 600 people had gotten more prepared as a result of playing an online game. So we're really pushing the envelope and trying to make sure that we connect with our community.